Hello everyone, how is it going? Hi Tawfiq. Hi Tanziha. Hi everyone. Hi Akshaj. How is it going? How's your day so far? How's Global Hack Week? Enjoying? We are near the end of Global Hack Week February. That was a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning for me. Uh, Learned so much. I don't code a lot for AIML, but I got to learn so much here. Yeah, this was yeah, I mean, shouldn't we just name it maybe global Ashwin week or global hack Ashwin or something like that? Full week just on my events. Yeah, that was awesome. And thank you so much for joining my events. I hope you had fun. And this is one of the last one, and I wanted to have a really nice conversation and talk you through ways because I am a very avid advocate for open source. I really like open source. I love contributing to open source, but it is huge. Like if I tell you like start open source, you will ask me 1,000 questions. I mean, even I find it hard to define how to start with open source. So today, since we are talking about AIML, let's stick to one way of getting into open source. One of the many ways. Since we have been trying so much and learning and building so much via machine learning, let's talk about how we can use that and get into the open source space, which you hear everywhere, like, oh yeah, I should do open source and it's good for A, B, or C. But how do I do it? uh, for that I have bought a very special guest. You all will love that person. You all already know that person. He has made a significant contribution and mark in the open source community, in the machine learning community. uh, Now, before I introduce that, do you have any guesses? I'm pretty sure I did not reveal it to anyone. Uh, I just wanted to take a guess who he is. He is founder of one of the very famous community. It talks about open source, inclusivity, and collaboration. He's also a TensorFlow user group lead. He he has done a lot of stuff, and there are a lot of more events coming up. He has also done contribution to TensorFlow in Google Summer of Code quite some time ago. So yeah, let's welcome our special guest for this session. Let's just have some drum rolls or some party poppers for Kartike Rawat. Hi Kartike, how are you?
Hi, folks. How are you? Hi, Ashwin. Thanks for inviting me on the stream. Really excited to
Thank you
share.
so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, thank you so much for taking your time and like spending your time here with us and the audience. I'm so glad, so super excited to catch up with you.
Yeah, people like I'm seeing people are really excited. They're so excited to see you all. Thanks for coming and joining. And maybe I can make machine learning in a more fun way. That how you can start open source that thing. So yeah, hello Tanzia. Hello.
So before that, like I know some audience are new here. Would you like to like introduce yourself, tell what you are and what you have been up to these days?
Yep. So my name is Kartike. I am founder of the community that maybe Ashwin is saying is that is OpenCo community, which is previously known as devs2com. I'm also one of the contributor, you can say, SIG and working group member of TensorFlow.js. Those who didn't know what is TensorFlow or TensorFlow.js, maybe yeah, I think so. It's a week of AI ML week, so I hope so. You maybe got this thing, maybe TensorFlow or PyTorch kind of thing in your upcoming stream. In case you didn't know, TensorFlow is basically, in general, if I will say it, it's more like a scientific tool that is created by Google team in order to basically do machine learning stuff in a more easier way, you can say, right? So TensorFlow.js is that version. You can say it's the JavaScript version of the core TensorFlow project. So basically, I'm a part of SIG member and also a working group member. Those who didn't know what is working group member, it's a kind of a DevRel community team where we are more focused on how we can advocate about TensorFlow.js, and SIG basically around more focus on the engineering and the product side thing, how we can basically implement or like improve on the basis of the feedback that we got from the community. So yeah, majorly thing is mine. And if I go to my community thing, I'm a TFUG organizer at Durg. I'm also been into the develop thing around. Maybe I'm also a postman student expert. Through that too, I'm also you can say I worked in Postman as a student developer advocate intern. So yeah, love to see you all. And yeah, as Ashwin said, the main thing, I'm also a GSOC student. I contributed to TensorFlow.js in WebAssembly side on the WebAssembly backend. So if anyone loves WASM, I will love to share my thought process over that side also. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. That was a lot. We'll go through some of them one by one. But yeah, that is a lot of contribution. I'm so inspired, and I really want to get started in that. Uh, Talking about getting started, like how did you got started? Like it sounds like you knew a lot of stuff. Like, oh yeah, you know what to do. But I'm new to open source, and I want to, like, I know machine learning. Okay, I participated in Global Hack Week. I made something very cool, maybe with Teachable Machine, TensorFlow JS, Chat GPT, something I made. But everyone is saying like open source is cool, but I don't know how to get started. So how did you got started with the term of or the world of open source? And like, if I only knew like machine learning or something like that.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about machine learning in general. Like people are really scared to start contributing to Tensor, like machine learning in general. So like starting with my first contribution in machine learning community, like from there is one of the member in TensorFlow community called Hugo. Basically, he's a computer vision engineer and also a Google developer expert. So he created a image segmentation project. So everyone think my first contribution will be so technical. No, it's not technical. I contributed on the documentation or you can see the specifically the readme of that particular project. Basically I got some errors and I just solved it on the documentation side. Now when I get into it and when I read the whole readme, I got to understand about the basically what this project is capable of or what is it is doing. So I got, even though I didn't know about the segmentation thing, like I am total on that side. I guess that's why my second or third year, and I am learning machine learning, but I am not in the core depth of machine learning on that side. But I got the word called segmentation, image segmentation kind of thing, and start reading some of the research papers or maybe some of the projects that is created on the top of maybe on the GitHub kind of thing. So I got into that, and after that, if I talk about TensorFlow in general and how I start, before starting in code contribution, I started in form of advocacy. I am doing TensorFlow.js advocacy kind of now. It's 2 to 3 years now. If you heard about any TensorFlow.js talk in past 2 to 3 years, maximum of time it will be me or Shiva, and like it me actually generally because like I gave a talk on TensorFlow.js a lot, and that's why like Jason Mims, who is a senior developer advocate at WebML or Google, he always said like, Karthik, why, how, from where you get so much energy to advocate TensorFlow.js in a lot of thing. But the point came into terms of the open source thing. If I'm advocating that project, I really love that project, or maybe if I contributing to that project, I really love that. So many people start getting to maybe GSOC or open source just for the namesake, because they are getting things like, yeah, everyone is doing, so like I have to do. It's a good, is a plus thing. But you have to understand, if you want to so I specifically contributed in a very less project if you go to on my GitHub. But the project I am contributing to it, I really love that project because I used it in my maybe in my small projects kind of thing. So understand, it's not hurry that I like if you contributed to in you have to contribute in machine learning project or like that. You have to firstly think about, have you get so much passion to basically contribute in that particular project. I not started with the open source thing like while back in 2 years back, when I starting off my open source journey. It's not only with the GSOC thing. I also participate in it in all other projects. Like suppose I am taking example, it's not like that. When I started open source, starting with my machine learning thing, it's kind of a starting with my machine learning thing. Like I will explain you that. Like there's also a program from Gulfscript, that is Gulfscript Summer of Code, uh, and before that also there is a Winter of Code. In those two programs, actually I contributed to in machine learning projects only. So in the first one, I guess there is a AR based app, basically Phantom AR project. I guess there is a name of that project, where basically I just created about how I can create AR effects using machine learning. So that is a mobile app. And I in my second or first freshman year or second year, you can say, I been into Android development during my SIH period. Those who didn't know what is SIH, it's a hackathon. It's a national hackathon by government in India, that is a Smart India hackathon. So on that premise, I have a knowledge about the Android development. So I used that in a mix of machine learning. Then second project is more focus on the basically to adding the some of the basic algorithm of machine learning in Gulf script summer of code. So I get a, you can say, loop how I start contributing to. It's not like that I already fixed that I have to do machine learning contribution. It's just like that, maybe I can say it's my fate, or maybe kind of thing. Like the project I really liked, it's machine learning only. So that's why I've been into machine learning community for a very long time. It's like, I guess, 3 to 4 years now. And if I want, if you, and it's again, it's not like that. Again, I'm saying, you didn't have to be a knowledge of machine learning to start contributing in machine learning projects. Even though the, you can say, the TensorFlow.js is made up in a form of the to form in the based of the creative people, those who didn't know coding. But they can start if you are not a machine learning practitioner, but if you think you know basic of web development thing, you can still make amazing projects from TensorFlow, amazing ML projects. If you want, I can give you some resources. There is a show that is basically started by Jason Maves, who is again senior developer advocate at Google, on basically WebML. So where from around the world, different creative artists or anyone who has basically any project, or like a good project from TensorFlow.js, it is showed by them. So if you need any motivation how to kickstart your journey, like so many people in initial think like I have to do machine learning, but I have no inspiration, like what I will take. I didn't want to copy any project, I want to just start my own machine learning project. So how I can start with it. So maybe that will be a, maybe at the end I will share the resources with Ashwin, so maybe Ashwin can share with you all. But the major focus is to inspiration point of view. Don't go with machine learning just key it is in a fancy term. Go with machine learning what problem it is solving. Again, many of the, like, if you ever heard about Andrew Ng, and maybe if you like if you go into machine learning, Andrew Ng is one of the, you can Andrew Ng, or you can say maybe Alex, I'm not remembering the Alexander, basically, who is from MIT, and he's also working with the Google Brains team. So they both always said that machine learning is just a solution that just came into just to basically to improve the performance out of it. At the end, have any problem, it's a ML based solution or non ML based solution, have that particular solution giving the business capabilities, that like you have to think like that. It's not like everywhere you have to use machine learning. You have to understand the problem first, and on that basis, can machine learning improve that part? Otherwise, there's sometimes also that some algorithm, suppose you use one machine learning algorithm, and maybe suppose you can use algorithm like discaster algorithm for pathfinding, suppose, are now depends on you. Have Dijkastra algorithm is better if it is taking less space in computational side, so it is better to use Dijkastra algorithm rather than going for a machine learning problem. So you have to understand actually what, like, that's why Andrew Angel Alexander is saying every day by day, uh, have using machine learning improve the performance, or maybe improve anyway in terms of computational side or anyway, then go with the machine learning thing. Otherwise, you can use normal algorithm, that is like some algorithms have on a great research on the mathematical end also. So try to understand that part. It is really important, because people are just going with I did the same wrong part, did wrong thing, you can say. In my freshman year, everyone's saying machine learning is the future of everything, and I go basically to so there is one of the nearest college in my region, that is NIT Raipur, and there is a boot camp is going on, and there is a, you can say, I guess, workshops also there. So I started with data science thing, then getting into Python basics kind of stuff. So because no one is here to tell me like, wow, what is really important kind of thing, so you have to understand about the core concept of basically machine learning and why it is used in the application point of view. So yeah, that's basically my whole journey, and that's why I came connected with the machine learning communities. I start advocating about machine learning on that point. So yeah, that's my part. Yeah.
Wow, that was a lot. So much to take back from that. I think a couple of stuff that I cannot like emphasize more. Which is like super duper important is just don't like pick why you are doing, like you're trying to solve a problem here. Uh, like you know, throughout the global hack week, there has been either we're trying to solve a problem or we're trying to like learn something while having fun. And I think both are totally okay. And I do see a lot of students who want to get started with open source try to do machine learning because it's trending and it's like, but there is no purpose, and that's where it becomes super super hard to get started. You can't find the motivation, cannot find where to start because it's everything just looks difficult. That is so true. Those are some really good tips from you. Couple of questions I think we missed in the chat. Let me pick those up. First, I'll pick up with relevant questions to machine learning. I know there are a lot of open source questions. We'd love to answer them, but let's see if we have any relevant questions when we are trying to learn with machine learning. I do believe like Kartike, do we need to do GSOC or some big program like that to call ourselves an open source contributor? I get this question a lot. I see a lot of students think or kind of have this impression that open source and the first thing that might come are the programs that work uh, as open source programs or involve open source project. And is it like necessary to for you to like do GSOC to like get started with open source? If not, like, is there like, can you give like an example where you know I don't have to do GSOC but I can still call myself an open source contributor?
Yep. First of all, I just want to clear one part. Like, it's I am not flexing again, folks. Like, when I get the application that my GSOC application is accepted, I am not excited, even though I am not even like in a sad moment. But it's very nominal thing. All goes to Kunal Kushwaha ji. Basically, the main part about the open source education that is came into play. GSOC is a program to promote open source. It is not like open source promoting GSOC. It's GSOC, or you can say Google Summer of Code promoting open source. It is one of the program. It's one of the opportunity. So when I say it's one of the opportunity, it's not the last opportunity to get into open source. So try to understand. GSOC is great. You can get great mentors, but apart from that, LFX mentorship is there from Linux Foundation. You can apply for that. Even though I guess application is open for LFX mentorship now also, you can still apply for that if you understand. Maybe if you can maybe do it's a very simple process of LFX mentorship. You have to give a resume, cover letter, and they will give from their side assignment to understand how know about the project of that where you are contributing to it. MLH fellowship is one of the thing. Like I guess recently MLH fellowship forms are open. Like it's still open, but I guess the batching thing is just open, I guess yesterday back, I guess that's what I'm remembering. You can apply for that. And even though you think of I am the one who can only start with Hacktoberfest thing. If you ever heard about Hacktoberfest, that's it's not like that. The simple thing, people are not using GitHub properly, I will just say that. Maybe just let me explain you, like give me a moment. Let me share my GitHub, just to understand like how you can use it GitHub in a more better way, I guess. To basically to start with open source, if you will say, let me know my screen is visible or not. Cool, yeah, I guess it's visible. Yeah, so if you check here, so first of all, understand, use GitHub like YouTube. Okay, you have to like the feeds kind of thing, right? You use GitHub like you can say more of focus like social media thing. So if you go to this section, explore section, you can see on the basis of the my three topic that I start is generally focused on WebAssembly, TensorFlow, and Ethereum, that basically I work with or work around with, like that. Cool. So try to use that. If you go to the topic section, right, you can see a lot of topic. If you want to just play around, suppose I want to go with the Angular thing. Suppose I want to understand the Angular thing. So yep. So yeah, here you go. The lot of projects are out there. You can check it out. Like you can a lot like even though Angular is top, but on the basis of that, how, how many star is there? Kind of like if you see this project has a lot of star than comparatively this Angular repo. So that's why it is basically, it is on the top one, you can say the most R1. If you want to, if you want, you can basically go with the relation on beats like the dear stars or the, on that basis you can start understanding or get into the what, how I can start with the Angular, suppose, right? But if you suppose, if you are interested on the trending thing, or maybe on the trending what is going on the trending thing of the maybe GitHub, the best thing is you can, like, if you see what are the most trendiest thing, you can go with that is this thing like Rust Desk is there, like recently. So you can start with this, and you can maybe get started with this, like just to understand the it is again I am saying GSOC or any other program will not go with on that thing, like how you can explore projects. This is the way you can explore. Use GitHub like YouTube, or maybe Instagram, or like basically how in Instagram we go to the, you can say reels. You can go to the search option and you can find the recommendation of the reels, and then you are swiping your reels. So just like that, you're just swiping the projects. Just like that, you have to use on that way. So this is really important. You can get a lot of thing in GitHub again. You didn't have to go anywhere else. If you go to the collection side, let me go to the collection side. So what are type, there's some of the blogs, like maybe how to choose or start your first open source project. This is a proper blog. This is the thing, like you can start it off. This is a proper video of it, like you can search around it, you can check it out. So again, this is the more thing. And if you go to the events, if there is any event, it is maybe by the GitHub. So right now there is no GitHub events, but there it is also in the event on that thing. You can get all of, basically get a lot of things out there. And for GitHub sponsors thing, like it's on to you. Like I also open to the sponsorship thing. I'm into open source. If I want to, if anyone wants to sponsor me, they can. And if I want to sponsor someone, maybe $100 $50 from my end, that can also be done. It's just you're supporting that particular folk to support more on open source side, so you can do that. Cool. So yeah, apart from that, by the way, I am also from campus expert like Ashwin. So like if you want any help from us, so yeah. So there's another thing that is really important that no one use it, that is you can say marketplace of GitHub. Use it. There's a different, if you're love to an automation sites like Circle CI, GitHub Action is one of GitHub Action, by the way, is one of my favorite. You can use it. Like there are different to try to use these folks in your project also. That also helps you to build your project in a more better way, I guess, when we talk about open source as a project, like as an open source project, you will say. And yeah, this is my basically thing, like that will stop my screen. So how this is the way, try to use GitHub as much as like your social media, like Instagram, YouTube kind of thing, that where you're swiping the feeds kind of thing. So yeah.
Oops, we got a lot of fans in the chat. I know, right? Like GitHub has this super cool feature of filtering and just sorting topic wise. We never use it. I did not use it until I like realized for the first time when I was going through the docs. I shared it like how you can utilize GitHub feature, and it's like pretty crazy. Like okay, earlier I used to like depend on Google search or maybe a couple of blogs or wait for the opportunity to come to me, but I can search for them. Super cool stuff. So yeah, I don't need. I can do a program, apply for a program, but if I don't get selected in a program because these programs have very limited number of seats, you can still contribute to open source. You don't need to have mentors are there, maintainers are there to help you. There's always guidance around. Me and Karthik are there. There's literally nothing, no difference, even if you don't get into a program to get started with open source. That's pretty cool stuff. Let's see what
also
I think I
also if
got.
you think,
Mhm.
also just wanted to point out, even you think, like if you want, like you want to start with machine learning project, first of all really understand, try to use Git and GitHub, or you can say version control system very well. You know the workflow. Even though many people think that if you know the development you can start open source, yeah you can, but how you can start contributing by not using the tools that is basically majorly used in open source. So please understand or use version control system. That is really, or version control system, or precisely I will say Git and GitHub. That is really important to understand the workflow, how you, if you made any changes, so how you push that thing to the main repo. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. You can use that. Um, so let's say I have started contributing. It's going great. What next? Like, okay, I know machine learning. I am contributing to machine learning stuff. What do I do next? Like, what's the next step? Won't I get bored? How do you keep your curiosity alive for machine learning community and open source community? Even though you have done GSOC, you have contributed so much. Like, do you get bored? What do you do once you have crossed that bridge?
So even though, yeah, just to break the myth of GSOC, there's one more myth. People, maybe a tip for GSOC are those who want to get into GSOC. Like I will say frankly on that thing, uh, mentors or admin are taking only those students or only those folks. Like I guess it's open for all now. There's not only students, so professional can also apply for GSOC. They will say the people who are really passionate about that project. Why I'm saying, because GSOC is a program to promote open source, and they will select the folks on the basis after the GSOC should he or she or maybe them able to contribute after the GSOC period is over. That's the point. You have to show them even after GSOC is over, I still contribute to that project in any form, maybe through advocacy, through maybe no code contribution, maybe low code contribution, maybe code contribution, maybe through documentation. So try to show them you are really passionate, because first of all, getting into TensorFlow.js, I've been into community since 1 year before getting into GSOC. I am been into 1 year, and they are seeing I'm advocating about TensorFlow.js. I'm making small projects about around TensorFlow.js. So they know me already. They know my work. I didn't have to, even though it's the process of thing, like I go with the proposal thing. But again, that is not always, because they know me already. uh, Both my mentors know me already. That I will say, because one is my mentor, who's a, you can say, my industry mentor, you can say, that is Shiva. He's always we did a lot of streams on TensorFlow. And second is Ping You. So my first code contribution is basically in on TensorFlow.js is happened during basically Ping You is basically mentoring me like on that particular. So if you want, let me show you one thing more. I'm showing a lot of things, but like it will help many folks out there to understand. So just give me a moment. Let me share my screen again. Let me know my screen. Okay, it's visible, I guess. Yeah, cool. So if you see, go to the close one, and I will show my first PR in TensorFlow. Even though, please do not scared. If you if you scared maybe, so please do not scared. Don't go with the code thing, right? Don't go with the code thing that I will show you. So I started on this page. Basically, what I have to do here, I just give you a small brief. I wanted to add kernels of 10 or of basically 10. You can say on majorly focus on basically on the WASM backend side. So please do not go with that thing, please. Do not with the code thing. So if you saw whole thing, I have a proper conversation like with the Ping You. And there's a one more important thing in open source. Communication is the key. You have to communicate your mentor or maybe on the PR that you are working with. That is really really important. Okay. So just like if you see here, after submitting my merge PR, but then I am asking why my why mind checks are failing. So basically my mentor, like on that point, he's not my mentor on that time, but he's basically explaining me what I'm doing wrong. So well, I did the same thing again. What is error? So he basically explained, like it is very small thing for him. Like he will say what is a rubbish question he is asking, but actually he said just do cd this repository yarn, and basically do that format to build better. So if you saw, again I shared, I did the same thing. It's why it is getting wrong. So there's a lot of conversation is going on the same side. I am sharing my screenshots, why it is happening, why I'm doing what I'm doing wrong actually in it. So after whole thing, it is happened a lot of thing. After whole thing, then thank you for your contribution. So if you see, my first PR is a very long taking, but I understand the workflow of TensorFlow.js. What is the system flow, or what is the system design of TensorFlow.js, how it is used. Now when I get into GSOC, I already know the workflows, or maybe I know already the what are the basically system design of the TensorFlow.js. So it will easy for me to contribute faster, because I understand the project. So that's the case I wanted to share you. Maybe I this is the basically the one of the first PR that I merged in my TensorFlow.js. So yeah, that's the take I want to give you. Yeah.
Yeah, learning by doing. It
Yeah.
if you don't do like it sounds like, oh, this person knows everything and they might have just directly contributed and like they are like super expert and I don't know anything. But yeah, this is so common in open source that you start a conversation. Communication is key. Very well said. um, don't hesitate to ask, but again, ask really good questions. Do your research. Like anything is just Google away. Did you just do a simple Google search? Did you find those answers first? No, like Google search did not work. Then ask in public. Asking in public also did not work. Then you can like, oh, ping the maintainers and say, hey, I don't understand and stuff, and someone will always help you. There's never like uh there's always someone there to help you. So that's a really good example. uh One more quick observation that the audience can make is look at the closed PRs if you're contributing. Like look how the conversation is going. Like each organization may have different way to communicate, and if you just go to the ones that are already solved, you will see how this person were able to close a pull request and how were they able to contribute. Surprisingly, if I go and see the file changes, it's usually very less. It's like couple of lines or 10 lines. The conversation is like takes the most of the time because that's where the learning happens. Totally
Like
agree.
I
Great
just
point.
should contribute for a second. Nice, nice. Thanks, Sujay. I got like many folks will get that, and just wanted to do plus one to that what Ashwin said. So if you think my first PR is did by me self only, it's not like that. So when I started off this issue or maybe this feature, it is a feature. It's not issue actually about adding kernels. Some of the old PR is shared by ping you only. Like take a reference of that, and barely I didn't do anything. I just copied it. I just check the basically this mathematical function is present over that or not. I just edit it and I just made PR. And some of the changes more on the build side. Basically, my error is basically coming. Or if you see my whole conversation, my whole PR is around the build error actually, not about the code thing. So actually, old PRs really helps you a lot. Really helps you a lot. How you can start with the that thing, and you get an idea about how you can start writing code or understanding that. So yeah, plus one to the must check out old PR. If any of the old PR have a same inclination like what you are implementing, that's really plus one to you because you can understand a lot of things in that thing. So yeah.
Yep, totally agree on that. Uh, Another question, Karthike and Ashwin, how to analyze a large code base with a lots of folders and files?
First of all, neglect the file and folders thing. Directly go to the readme. First of all, don't check. No, like for a first comer, everyone have a, oh bhai, what is this? Oh, I didn't getting anything. That's the basically scene is behind that. But when first of all, please neglect the files and folder thing. First of all, go to the readme section. Readme section 2 to 3 times to understand what is the project is about. Go to documentation, because what people like in general, what many people say maybe on anywhere when they are talking about start content, you go to the open source project, go to the issue section, start working on the issue section, and you can get started with the open source. So to before that, you have to use the open source project also. If you didn't know, like you can use that particular maybe service or product in your project. So I'm taking example of maybe tensorflow.js. Before contributing to tensorflow.js, I already use tensorflow.js maybe on the console side, or I made projects around it. So I know the basic thing about what is this function is doing, how I basically call that function, like that, or API endpoints kind of thing, right? So I already know that thing. So go basically to use that project, read documentation to understand or maybe implement small bit by bit small things around that particular project, and then start with the issues. And if you feel there is no issue, do not take tension. There is a mailing list generally for every big open source project. There is a mailing list, or you can say a Discord server community that is over there. Write down, hey community, or hey particular, hey maybe any community that is here. I am new to the I want to contribute to this project. I made this project, link the projects of the link your projects, and I want to contribute in this project, but there's no beginner friendly issue. Can anyone help me out? Generally what happened with me, there's no beginner friendly in TensorFlow because it is very matured repository. So what they did for me, they created another project tab where new kernels are there, and I start working with ping you on that. So that's I get into TensorFlow or as a open source contributor in TensorFlow. So yeah, just ask. Communication is key to everything.
Totally agree on that. It's easy to like first check out the code and judge the project based on code. Even if you're contributing, you won't contribute to the whole system. You will like probably contribute to a small part of it, and that's where it makes sense. So yeah, don't judge your potential based on how large the code base is. And honestly, I have contributed to Kyverno, and it's a it's a cloud native policy engine, but I did not understand the whole code base, and I just understood a part of it. Like I know how to use some part of it, and I found this thing is missing in this part, the exact part which I'm using, and that is where I was able to contribute. At the same time, Karthik said a very important point that you need to use, like it won't make sense if you don't use VLC media player and you want to contribute to it. Like any open source tool that you are using, it makes sense to contribute, because then you have the good reason, you have the driving force, because you use it and you're facing an issue. So I see a lot of students just contributing because it's a fancy project, or they have never used it and they want to. I've done that myself in my initial years. I totally agree on that. And it becomes very hard to do that because there is no driving force to, like, keep you on track, because the initial days are slightly hard. You are understanding a lot. You don't see any visible efforts, you don't see any visible rewards, because the initial days are very hard. So definitely see if you can contribute to a project you're already using, and if not, you can always start using it. I was a hardcore Windows person. My username also says the same thing, but now I use Ubuntu. I'm an Ubuntu right now and I'm loving it, for a change. And like all the tools that I use are like open source in this one, and if I find any issues or if I want to make a tool better, I have a valid reason, because I use it in my day-to-day life. uh, I know where the problem is, and there is a very good driving force that, okay, I want to fix this because I'm using this. Yeah, that's true. It's a great feeling when the issue you generated is accepted by maintainers. That is true. But um for every issue, like there are a lot of issues which do not get accepted. So it's all right. You can totally raise new issues. That's totally good. So Karthike, so we might have some future maintainers in our chat, open source maintainers. Let's say they have followed your advice, they have made contributions to open source, and maybe they started their own open source project. Could be in machine learning, maybe not. What advice do you have for them as a maintainer? Like what should they do if once they become to that point that they are a maintainer now, and what are the best practices to follow?
I guess your voice is break, Ashwin. Can you repeat it, or maybe show the particular
Oh,
message if you want?
is it fine now?
It's still breaking a little bit.
Okay, let me type it in the chat. Advice
Is it
for
me only, or
open
like
source.
now? I guess now it's better. Like yeah, now it's video is better. I guess.
Now it's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. My question was, what advice would you do give to someone who is a maintainer in open source? So we were talking about all the contributors. Let's also talk about a bit about maintainers.
Okay, cool. So, if you talk about from my perspective, um, maintainer perspective always try to bring new people on the open source, or like make that community in that sense, or like that particular organization that helps or motivates new people to basically contribute. So as a maintainer, if you go with the, if like you should have a proper code of conduct first of all. If you are creating any project or maybe any organization or maybe any GitHub organization, your first instance will be you have to create a code of conduct where everyone is maintaining those rules, because really important, because many a times we saw a lot of people break a lot of code of conducts, and that what we need actually in our organization or in general organization also. Second thing, can you make or can you advocate your project in that term, like people or maybe any student who are, or any newcomer who are really interested in your project, and they can start contributing just by seeing your talk or maybe watching your videos or maybe around the advocate stuff you are did. So that's a plus point. Try to make documentation as much as simple to because many people are or like in general many maintainers even though are neglecting documentation. But I know if you can work with documentation in a very proper way, anyone can start contributing to it. uh, Even though many of people who have contributed to a large code base, they did a lot in open source. Like I'm just giving example, maybe Eddie Jord, who is a GitHub star of the year, I guess, this year again. So congratulations to Eddie for the same. And but apart from that, if you saw, even if he start going to any open source project, if there is not a proper documentation, if he know the technical stack of it, maybe he can start contributing to it. But if there is like even the 20 plus year 30 plus year experience folks also, or maybe experienced professional also, if they didn't know the particular technical stack or tech stack, and there's not a proper documentation, they will never understood the whole code base until and unless if there is a video of it, or maybe or any content or blog around it, if it is better to that. So try to work around the documentation aspect also simultaneously. That is really really important. So yeah, that's majorly the maybe the three step that I will say. Try to make your community inclusive. Code of conduct is really important. Can you make up beginner friendly issues, or maybe in the beginner friendly internal projects or microservices projects, you can say. So yeah, like that, some of the tips for the beginner maintainers basically from my side. Yeah.
Any good advice for maintainers? You can hear me all right? Just a quick check.
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's in a very very better. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Great stuff. We covered maintainers, we covered contributors, and I think like let's take about the users, like the one who the consumers that we are that we use. uh can you talk about like can you list some like popular open source machine learning tools that we use, like we might use, and I want to just like spread this awareness that these are open source. I know TensorFlow is open
Yep.
source, I know JS is open source. What else tools in machine learning
Yep.
in general are popular that is open source?
um, Yep, that's really because many people think there is only two projects in machine learning, that is PyTorch and TensorFlow. That is not happening again. So first is BentoML, ZenML. You can say PyTorch Lightning Talk. Basically, it's on a production that how you can drop or deploy a model production. So these are the three that I know. If you search it around, or maybe you can on the if you go to the GitHub, if you can search it down. Let me give you some of the links maybe of the BentoML. If you can say, just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Um, okay, so here it is the Bantaml. Let me drop with the Ashwin. So maybe Ashwin share with you all. This is a Bantaml thing. Um, uh, because ZenML, I have to search it around. There is also a deep checks also. Basically, deep check is generally you can say test for the basically test for continuational validation for ML models and data. You can check it out. There is I guess weight and biases also. You can check it out. There's weight and biases also. I didn't. I think it's of open source, but I actually didn't go to the GitHub and check it out. You can go to the like it's very prop. It is very popular. Like you can say tool. Generally we use for machine learning. Uh, if you say more, yeah, Keras is also open source, by the way. You can still contribute to Keras. Like many folks are contributing to Keras with new models. If you go to the keras.io and you go to the community or GitHub thing over their main website, you can check it out around that. And if you go talk more about it, I guess even that what I know, maybe I guess solo.io is also open source. I didn't actually know, but I guess they are also having some machine learning stuff over there, internal project, I guess, or not internal, basically internal tooling, you can say. So I guess there is a in solo.io, like one of my friend Rohit Gumrai, which is basically developer advocate there. And yeah, you can even try for that. I am not getting the, let me check about the ZenML thing. I hope so. Yeah, I guess I get the ZenML thing. Yep. So this is I'm sharing again with Ashwin. So this is the ZenML one. So you can check it out. Yep. And yeah, these are the some of the projects like I can think of. If you say, let me get back to the weighted and biases. If I get Just give me a moment. Um, just give me a moment. Um, I hope so. It's so this is a site of weight and bias. If you want to check it out, let me see. It is like open source or like I think so. It's open source. I'm actually not remembering totally. Um, just give me a moment. Um, just give me a moment. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I got that. Yep. So you can, yeah, it is open source. That's why I'm saying like I know this is open source, but I didn't go any like it didn't get a repo. So yeah, these are the some of the you can say famous framework. Because from ZenML, I know some of the people like they are like I know Jay Sharma, who is a platform engineer. Is that platform is working great on that aspect, so you can check it out. Uh, even though on even deep checks is also one of them. If you want to check the yeah, I also share the PyTorch lightning thing also, that helps you. Just give me a moment. If you want to maybe contribute to PyTorch lightning, it's a part of PyTorch framework. Even though PyTorch is now open source to CNCF is handling now PyTorch. So all goes to CNCF. I guess CNCF taking the whole you can say the whole thing to take forwards open source now, I guess maybe. Because like Kubernetes also an get a Google's internal tooling, but now it's open source to CNCF. Now you're seeing it. So yeah, you can check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Those are that's a lot of projects. I did not know some of them, and these are more than enough to get started. Like these are a lot. So I cannot give an excuse to you now that I don't
But
have any
again,
projects to get started.
those who think it's very intermittent, no, it's a like a large code based projects. So again, if you
Yeah.
think you never started or open source, I recommend it. Any very small, even though there is a friend of yours or maybe who built any project and maybe he created it or like open source it, it's very small. But try to start with those projects, or maybe not in machine learning, but try to start to get a like that's what I'm talking about, like have a understanding of version control system, so that you can know the flows and processes, then you can start contributing to it. So yeah, that's my take over that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good one. We are
also
almost in
also
a
also
time.
also also
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
also also one thing I just wanted to add over it. TensorFlow, if you go to the TensorFlow organization, so there is a project, there's a two repositories called TensorFlow examples or TensorFlow JS example. TensorFlow JS is also TensorFlow JS examples. If you think you are created different example from the listed one that is present over the repository, you can push that project. Your project must be highlighted in the GitHub TensorFlow blog. If you like, if they feels like your project is really worth it and you're contributing to it, so you can push that project over there.
Oops, I think I lost Kartike.
Website.
And
Am I audible now?
yeah, we lost you for a couple of seconds there.
So where I stop actually? Can anyone tell me?
Oh, TensorFlow JS examples.
Yeah, so after so yeah, TensorFlow JS example, then you can say after TensorFlow JS example, there's a one of the repository called TensorFlow website. In case you didn't know how to contribute to TensorFlow, you can, what you can do if you're a web developer, you can contribute to maybe on documentation side or maybe design aspect. Maybe you can contribute to design side or maybe UI implementations. So this is the way you can also start with contributing to TensorFlow without knowing machine learning. That's also a plus point. If you know the maybe this is the feature that is recently maybe publicized, then and in case you didn't have an update on documentation side and you know the features, so you can write a documentation aspect also. So there's a lot of thing you can, same thing I didn't know about the PyTorch thing, but this is the thing how TensorFlow have an extra website where you can start contributing even though you're not familiar with machine learning. So yeah, that's why I want to do a plus one thing to that. Yeah.
Yeah, those are really good head starts for beginners. So, before we wrap up, do you have like any closing advice for people who are learning machine learning throughout this weekend? and they might wanna consider getting started with open source. Do you have any closing invites, any small summary they wanna keep in mind throughout while contributing or getting started with open source?
I will say there are two machine learning people. One who write research paper, who didn't write research paper, right? So you have to understand it. It is not necessarily like those who are writing research paper, they always have an implementation point of view, or they implement that their model that they are writing about it. And there's second part, who loves to write, maybe suppose you don't loves to write but you loves to implement. So what you can do, is there any famous paper where there's no there is no implementation of it? What you can do, you can write research paper, you can read of that particular research paper, and if you can implement it, you can try your understanding that models or mathematics around it. So that's also, it is very harder way you can say to basically to do that, but that's why I'm saying to understand it, you have to have some knowledge about machine learning. Or before getting into or in depth of machine learning, I just say maybe go with the deeplearning.ai courses or Andrew ng courses that is available on Coursera or maybe on YouTube. Maybe or also go to the MIT deeplearning.ai by Alexander Game, who's a really, I love that professor, by the way. His explanation about machine learning is on another level, because he talks to application point of view, basically industry point of view. So you get an understanding where this why this model came into play, where it is using and how it is using and how we are implementing, and this implementation how get in a business point of view. So there's a lot of he's talking about, he's giving your understanding out of it, how it is mathematically work, how it is should he can even I can say Alexander can teach us 2 year child also what is machine learning, that I can say about it. So yeah, check it.
Yeah, those are some really good insights. Just make sure you follow those people. Definitely follow Karthike. Karthike posts a lot of initiatives, a lot of programs, and a lot of content on machine learning and open source. So, yeah, that is it. Thank you so much, Karthike, for joining us here, and thank you everyone for hanging out, asking some amazing questions. I know your questions won't end, so if you have any questions, tag us on Twitter. We'll be happy to help you out. Once again, keep in mind, do little bit of research, ask in public. Uh, cannot wait to see you all make some amazing contributions to open source, make some amazing contribution to the machine learning community. It's going to be awesome. Um, yeah, enjoy your weekend, enjoy Global Hack Week, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.